You heard it? Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. April, you have. You're awfully young to be no okay. All right, never promised you a rose garden. Don't ask me who sings that. Don't write to you.
Lynn Anderson.
Huh?
Lynn Anderson.
Well, that's even though they even know. It's been raised.
They really got it down over there.
Yeah, really.
Okay, we're not playing no music trivia with them.
Right, yeah. Because we're going to get skunked.
That's the next family game night.
Unless it's rock trivia, then you're on.
So we got that too.
Yeah, really nice. We know our group, right? We were groupies. We know. We know.
That's right.
But anyway, we've been talking about, last week we talked about the wife's role in marriage. We've been talking about the man's role in marriage. Now, this evening we're going to talk about understanding marriage. I really wish, prayed it. I grew up in this all my life. I would be so blessed. But unfortunately, I didn't grow up in church all my life. Unfortunately, I didn't understand the concept, and you know, God knows what He's doing. Probably as a younger man, Brother Darce, I probably wouldn't have listened anyway because I thought I knew everything. You know, when you get at that age, 18, 20, the age my son is, they know everything. Everything. They know everything. All statistics, they know everything. They know life. But when reality really hits them, it's like a shell-shock bomb. It's the same way of not understanding marriage. Young people come together and they get married, whether young, old, whatever, whoever you may be. It affects all. It has no, it has no particular individual that affects cultures, everything. Marriages, back in the day, way back in the day, when I say way back in the day, in the 18th centuries were arranged marriages, where people were arranged. This happened a lot in the wealthy individuals, where they come together because they wanted to keep their bloodline wealthy. It was unheard of anyone that was in poverty to marry someone that was rich. You know, that's just the way it was in those days. Still today, in some countries, arranged marriages are still doing. You ever heard the term shotgun marriage? It's no country thing. You know, like you get this from like Hatfield and Coy, different things. You know, I remember watching the Beverly Hillbillies. And they would have those shotgun marriages. You know, you're gonna marry my gal, and you know, in this and that. A lot of people have misconceptions about marriage and they don't understand it, so they jump into it and realizing I shouldn't have done this. Many times I have counseled with different individuals that said, hey, you know, I didn't realize what I was really getting into. Why? Because of lack of understanding that marriage should not be based. I believe I talked a little bit about this last week. Marriage shouldn't be based on attraction. Because if it is, when you've been around each other long enough, you'll lose that attraction, trust me. Especially in the mornings. You wake up. Hey, you're not the girl I dated. Oh, she's got curlers in her hair. Whoa, she's got that mask, that green mask on her face. And her breath stinks. I mean, you ain't got time to get all prettied up when you're sleeping for 8 hours. It changes. Marriage should be based on loving that individual, regardless how they look, regardless if they gain weight, regardless if they lost weight, whatever. Weight shouldn't be an issue. When you love someone, you say I do. You're supposed to say I do for life. That's basically it. And young people, not just young people, but older alike, are figuring this out. Even the laws are figuring it out. Even those that of commerce of America, different ones, Brother Darce, are figuring it out that people are rushing in to marriage. They're rushing in, making a decision, thinking, well, this is the moral thing to do. You know, you got a point there, but if you don't love that individual and you don't know about that individual, it's a bad thing to do. Because you could be setting yourself up for a distraction. It almost sounds like that, you know, I'm dissing marriage. I'm not. I'm trying to make you understand that you got to understand marriage. Moms and dads, your role is to train your children to that point. I got a son, you know, he's had his heart broke a couple of times. But he had his heart broke because he said, I fell in love with them. No, John, you didn't fall in love with them. You're attracted to them. It's just by the statements you make. And pardon my expression, Dad, she's hot. See, that's not love. Dad, she smells good. That's not love.
That's good. That's good.
That's not love. And look, I'm going to get real explicit here, okay? I'm not too bad, all right? Just don't count me out. You think you love her so much and you're taking a shower and she goes to the restrooms and flushes the toilet, see how much she loves you. You love her. That hot water becomes real cold.
You need a bigger heater.
You know what I'm talking about? See how much you love her. You're hoping she's not doing number 2, because that stinks really bad. You see how much you love her. See how much, or vice versa.
Are you saying this from experience? That's all.
Yes! I'm married. Come on, man. I'd be a castaway not to be able to tell you something I don't understand. But when you're engaged with someone, I'm still talking about understanding marriage. When you're engaged with someone, when you're in love with someone, you think you are. That's not in the territory, Brother Johnson. All that's in the territory is you googly eyeing her and she's googly eyeing you. You're feeling these emotions, you're feeling these attractions, and you're looking at, man, God, they're great. I hope they look like that forever. No! They're not going to. That's a misconception that everyone must understand. I believe in my heart, and even the laws enforce it, any individual that's going to enter into marriage should have counseling before they do. I believe they should be broke down. I believe it should be. That's just my personal feeling. Understanding why you're getting married. In the book of Proverbs 5 and 18, does everyone have your guides? Everyone got one?
Yeah.
Make sure, you got one, April? Okay, good. So make sure everybody's got one. Everybody's got one. Because we try to distribute it to each family. Hi, sweetheart. How you doing? Oh, lady. It's good to see you. Proverbs 5 and 18 says, let thy foundation be blessed and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. So, you to think that young people shouldn't get married, and that ain't what the Bible said. I've seen more successful marriages happen when they're young, because they grow up together. There's something wrong with that. My wife, she was very intelligent, very smart. She got her schooling out of the way, and then she got married. She got all that out of the way. And so she waited later in her life to get married. But unfortunately, and I'm being transparent this evening, I know we're on film, but you know, this was prior to my conversion. I got impatient. You get impatient, you realize, I know the mistake. And I paid the price, and every day, you know, it's just part of it. Life's gone on. My girls have done married. My girls have got family of their own, my children, but other than my son. And things gone on. Went through all the child support thing, all through these issues, all these things that I've counseled with people that, you know, are separating and what have you. It happens. It's just part of life. The Bible talks about it. It's been going on. I don't encourage it, but it's just a part of life. But I'm not talking about that this evening. I'm talking about understanding marriage, because if people understand marriage, they may have not gotten married to that individual. If they understood, they may have not made that. And then go on with their life to pick the right individual that God ordained them to have. I still feel that we need to look at the old roots, and we need to follow our elders, because our elders are very important. They're prime examples. If I ever wanted to counsel, or if I ever wanted to talk to somebody about marriage, I think I would talk to someone that's been married a long time.
Right.
They would know and have the experience. Someone that has the experience and understands. The foundation for a lasting marriage is understanding the Obedience of God's plan. This involves 4 important concepts as the couple works together to build a family in a beautiful way that God intended. These concepts are compassion, time, commitment. That's number 1 right there. When you're married, you learn to commit. And I don't believe in this 50-50, 60-70, 80-90. I believe 100% should be on both parts. 100% committed. To the point is that the fact is, I cannot live without you. That's commitment. That's loving someone. That's understanding marriage. Decisions. No couples should make a decision alone. They should talk together to make that decision. And it becomes a part of their lives. Pledge our vow. And communication expression. Number 1 killer in marriages is lack of communication.
Amen.
You've got to communicate with one another if you want to keep your marriage together. This is what causes divorces. This is what causes, it's a high rate in our society today. Lack of understanding, lack of communication. God designed and sanctified marriage as a base of all society. God saw that Adam was lonely, so He made him a partner and brought her to him. Genesis 2:3 and 18th verse. God's Word proclaims that the institution of marriage will not be dissolved until Jesus comes again. Mark 12:25, Luke 17:26-27. Understanding companionship. Number 1. Let's talk about that for a minute. The need for companionship is felt while we are still involved in the family until our parents. Have you ever been to a large family gathering? In the middle of cousins and uncles and aunts, brothers and sisters, parents and grandparents, and still feel entirely alone? That is because God had placed a need of companionship of one special person inside each of us. It is both a natural and a universal feeling. When we realize this is from God, it helps us deal with the need. A companion is a person who goes with another. Someone who shares another experience, whose company one enjoys. Webster Encyclopedia Dictionary of the English Language, according to a Focus on the Family Internet article by Derek Scott on the covenant of marriage. Companionship involves. It is not good for a woman or a man to be alone. Period. When 2 people fall in love, I believe purity should fall with that, because it will unite them even stronger. Why is purity, why is reserving oneself for a companion important? Thanks for asking. Because when 2 people preserve themselves and they get married, they'll never understand nor get a concept, because it'll just be a fantasy, Sister Bentley, to have a companionship with someone else. That's the way God designed it. They'll never look anywhere other direction, because the fact is, they won't understand. You're not going to miss something you never had. This is why God designed it that way. Number 1, unity of purpose. Unity of thoughts, unity of efforts, unity of bodies, in marriage only. The Bible speaks of both man and woman as a companion in marriage. Bed manners should never be discussed, only by married partners. But our society today like to brag on it. Woo! What we did last night. And it should be none of your business what goes on beyond that bed chamber. And when I say between two couples, that's their business, no matter what they do. That's their business. Should not ever be discussed amongst one another. You know, ladies, men do too. They strive on this. They strive on it so much they even got TV shows that like to talk about it. Want to express their marital experiences and make fun, and you know, that's just so ungodly. It's not God's will. That's where people take marriage lightly, and they take that bond lightly. But God meant for it to be something special for two people. Malachi 2:14 speaks of a woman as the companion, the wife of thy youth. Yet ye say, wherefore, because she, Lord, hath been a witness between thee and the wife of thy youth, against whom thou hast dealt treacherously, yet is she thy companion and the wife of thy covenant. In the days, and the Jewish custom was, church, is that, and they still do it today, when a man picks a spouse, he gives a covenant to the father. Goes to the dad. He wants the blessing from the dad to marry the wife. It never was a Jewish custom or a custom of any time that a woman was to choose her husband, but that the man would choose the woman. They would love each other and fall in love and da-da-da-da. In that time, the man would purchase, so to speak. I know thank God you're not a Jew. They would purchase their bride. And they would give to the family for 1 year until they commence and become one. They would leave, the woman would, or the man would leave his mom and dad, what have you, and then he would take on his wife. But in those days, the man had to provide. And we understand this. I don't know if you've ever read the book of Josephus. It tells a lot of history about these things. He was an individual that studied, a historian of Judaism. And he talked about marriages. Marriages is so important in the Bible. He talks about it all the time. I mean, it's everywhere. It's so important to the fact is that God likened His church as His bride. So, metaphorically, He even brought it to that point. That how important marriage is. This companionship is designed to meet the needs of both. Every part of a marriage is based on this. As God, by creation, made two of one, so again, by marriage, He made one of two. Understanding the commitment. You ladies that are looking for a man to be your husband, if he's not faithful to God in his giving, why would you think he'd be faithful to you in giving, supporting? Now, I'm not saying faithful as far as companionship. I'm saying supporting. That'd be some of the things to be looking for if you're looking for a spouse. Is he faithful to God? Is he committed to something? Is he committed to his job? Or is it every 5 minutes or every week he's looking for another job? It's a commitment problem. A lot of people don't want to hear that, but that's understanding when you're looking for a spouse. When you're looking for, vice versa, when a man's looking for a woman, can she clean house? This is used to be what women and men would look for. Can she clean house? Can she cook? Nothing more attracts a man. I'm telling you women, I'm telling you right now, you can look beautiful all you want. But nothing attracts a man when it comes to his belly. You can cook and throw down, whoa! That's a woman right there. I'm telling you. My wife makes some great food for me. Obviously you can tell. I love piggies in the blanket. Something simple, but I like it. She knows I do. I like her famous lasagnas she makes. She's got special dishes that she makes and she knows I like. I notice, April, that when she wants something, those dishes come up on board. When my wife is an expert in grooming me and to get what she wants. And she does it so perfectly. And, you know, I said, okay, I'm so engulfed in what she gave me, I'm like, okay, what is it that you wanted? I'm picking on her, but I love her. My wife knows that I'll eat breakfast 24/7, anytime of the day. When she wants something financially, next thing you know, pancakes are made, eggs and bacon are made, scrambled eggs are made, good stuff. Wow! What do you want? Oh, nothing.
Well, now that you mentioned.
Now that you mention it, here we go. When you are committed to one another, you learn each other. Signals, and you learn how far you can push that spouse. There's a range that my son understands. If I get to that range, he knows to behave, because he knows the consequences that follow behind it. There is a point, and my wife will tell you, my wife has, I mean, God's my witness. I've never laid a hand on her. I've never have, never will. Never even dream of it. Couldn't even come to the concept to ever hurt her that way. Now, I can't say I've not hurt her mentally and physically. I mean, but not physically. You know, that's all a part of marriage. But I've learned to make up, you know, and we've learned what the signals and what it means. That's being committed to one another. We're not going to let someone else go in between us. Been married to her for quite some time. My wife is not a jealous type of person, but she knows body language from other women. She knows that when somebody's trying to play the game on her husband, and once them women get that, men, I hope you're hearing me, once they get that signal, it's over with. World War III is on. Women can be vicious when it comes to their husbands. Am I right, ladies? Getting awful quiet. You must be listening. One important thing to remember about biblical marriages is the meaning of commitment. Marriage was never meant to primarily a love match, sexual intimacy, but a pattern picture of Christ, His relationship to His bride, the church, in Ephesians 5, 25 and 33. Everybody thinks that that's what marriage should be, or that marriage should be based on. No, it isn't. That stuff will fade away over time. You try to keep, you know, and I do, listen, I'm not an old fuddy-duddy. Please don't misunderstand me. I think you should always try to spice up your marriage, anytime. My lads, it isn't a coincidence that February the 14th is coming around pretty soon. That's when men do their rub. And don't forget their rub. Know their rub. As fact as, you know, spicing up things, getting things ready for their bride, for their wives. Brother Darcy and my wife and different ones taught me into this marriage retreat that Brother and Sister Croucher had. And I'm telling you what, that was exciting. I still got the bottle that they gave us. No, it's not. We're going to clarify that. I'm online here. They gave us spring. What was it? We haven't even opened it up. So. But it was something, you know, that it was good. I mean, the Crouchers do an outstanding job. We want to go and do that again and make that arrangement again. I met some nice people, and they just did an outstanding job. And it's just something, it doesn't hurt to treat your spouse out and help them. And the Bible was talking only about the physical union of a man and a woman when it spoke of marriage. Why is there so much reference to fornication? Would this not rather be called some type of lose marriage? When mentioned adultery, thou shalt not commit adultery, is straightforward commandment. Sexual relationship alone meant marriage, then adultery would be called bigamy in some forms. A lot of people don't want to hear it, but it's true. The Bible talks a lot about adultery. It talks a lot about fornication. And it talks about how God hates it. And it's a no-no. It's something that will break the cord of marriage. I'm telling you that right now. When infidelity is involved in marriage, it breaks the cord. You believe it or not. Jesus took it a step further, and he said, when a man looked, he didn't say nothing about a woman, but he said, when a man looked at a woman and lusted in his heart, he had already committed fornication in his heart. I'm just telling you what the Bible says. I'm not, this ain't something that I'm designing, I'm a male. So, I'm talking to myself. The marriages have been apart through that because of physical attraction of the opposite sex. When God brought the woman to the man, he intended the physical joining. The two become one flesh. It is cheapened when it is not confirmed to marriage. Paul is teaching in 1 Corinthians 7, 3-5, makes it clear that the physical union of a man and a woman is a special and important part of the marriage. And it is. But it's not the most important part. When two couples learn this, their marriage will be strong. Marriage was used by God to symbolize the depth of his commitment to Israel. Isaiah 62, 4 and 5, Jeremiah 31 and 32, since commitment is and continuing obligation. Promises are pledged as a defined in Webster Encyclopedia Dictionary to the English language. It must be kept. The problem with a lot of marriages, and I'm telling you, is because both spouses are not doing their part.
Amen.
In keeping that united together. There's no reason for a man or a woman to try to attract themselves to an opposite sex after being married. Why? Why? I'm not saying for you to be ugly. I'm not saying for you to just let yourself go. That's wrong too.
Amen. On
both parties. People raise arguments, but I'm not here to raise an argument with you. I don't have a contentious spirit. The Bible speaks against that. People don't want to argue all the time. Well, I want to give my opinion. I want to give them a piece of my mind. Some of you people better keep all the mind you got. You don't have much left. When you're acting rational and you're acting like that, it's not good. I cannot stand, nothing gets in my craw than when somebody wants to debate with me. I'm like, why are you debating with me? We're supposed to be on the same team. We're supposed to walk together in unity as brothers and sisters. Why are we debating anything? Why are we arguing about anything? People love to voice their opinion to me. They won't do it in my face, they'll text me. What, you're a coward? Man should talk. That's the way it used to be. But people just want to hide behind a computer. Or want to hide behind their phones. I knew a young lady that she wouldn't come to me and talk to me. She just wanted to text me all the time. I said, look, stop texting me. I won't answer it. I refuse to answer it. Text it. You want to talk to me? Let's go talk in the office. I refuse to answer. Wise. I've learned this. Through being a pastor, I've learned it through being a minister. You gotta be careful because people will take your words and twist it, and they'll try to incriminate you by what you type and what you say. I know it may come across cruel. Oh man, it's harmless. No, nothing's harmless anymore. Nothing is to the point where it needs to be taken for granted. You better take everything serious. Because people are forever conniving. You think you know them, but then again you don't. Understand in marriage, listen, you think you know that spouse, you better get to know them. Well, I don't understand why that, I get married and a year later I'm not married. Or that 2 years, or 5 years down, or 8 years down the road. What happened to my marriage? I can ask that couple, I'm telling you, I'm being honest with you, and I'll be right. I can ask that couple, did you seek any marriage counseling before you got married? No. Did you talk to your pastor? No. Did you consult with anybody? No. So you don't have an understanding of what marriage is all about. If you're so keen in knowing what marriage, now listen, I'm saying this in general. If you know what marriage is all about, then why have you been like the woman at the well, been married 5 times, and the one that you're with, you're not married then? Because you don't understand the concept of marriage. I'm careful of words I choose about people. I don't label people. I try to, I don't do that. I keep my personal opinions to myself. That's a good thing. Because people can change. I'm not so quick to write off people. I try to be merciful and try to understand that they just lack of understanding. It's easy to write people off. It's easy, Sister Billy, just to judge them and say, call them this and call them that. Losers, whatever. I knew a young lady, I'll never forget it, growing up in church. It's a while back, you don't know what I'm talking about, so it ain't about nobody in this church, ain't nobody that used to come to this church, so get that concept out of your mind. She was married 2 or 3 times, and a church member called her a whore. Listen, the whores do not get married. Whores get paid. What a misconception. Whores do not get married. Right? Am I right? They're ladies of the night. So where did they get this concept? Where did they get this? Because they're so easy to write them off and to say, well, we're labeling them this, we're labeling them that. So they teach their congregation to say that. I never could understand that. But people do. And they kept just calling it. But the girl finally, at one point in time in her life, she met someone, God united them together, and they've been happily ever after. And they're still moving on, successful in their life. Go to a successful church, a good church, a loving church, an understanding church. I thought to myself, thank God you intervened, God. Thank God that all the legalism went away and she understood. The problem with churches today, they're too legalist. They're too quick to write somebody off before they really understand them. I try to look at people as God looks at people. And it's hard sometimes. It really is, being a human being. Understanding marriage. When marriage is entered into with this understanding about commitment involved, it is difficult to put it asunder. You got 2 people that love each other and commit. I don't care what pretty girl walks beside him or walks across him. He's too involved in love with his spouse. They're committed. It doesn't matter. You couldn't break that up. I think that's a stupid thing to do. To even try to flirt with somebody that's married. That's retarded. You're looking and asking for trouble. People today, they don't ask questions anymore, Brother Darth. They shoot you and then we talk about it later. It ain't like when me and you grew up. We grew up fighting with our fist. We settled the score that way. Now today, they just shoot you. It's just, tell me. I know inmates that are in jail right now because they shot their spouse because she was cheating on them. It happens. What do they call it? A fatal love attraction? Whatever. I don't know. It's just crazy.
It's called crime of passion.
Crime of passion. Thank you. I knew there was a word for what I was looking for. A marriage is entered into, it must be entered to understand commitment. Giving the following example to actual affirmation of marriage. There are many ceremonies available. These should be studied carefully and understood completely. This study should take place long before the day a couple stands in front of all these witnesses. I've made it a rule in my life as a minister. I will refuse to marry anyone that I'm not counseled with them and I don't understand what's going on between both of the spouses. It'd be foolish of me. I will not deny anyone. This is me. This has nothing to do with the organization that I'm involved in. They don't make my mind up. It's in my heart. It was long before I was licensed, long before I become a pastor, or whatever. I would never marry anyone, because the Bible talks about it, that's unequally yoked against the faith. It's wrong. And you put two people together, it's wrong. And any other thing, I will not go against the Bible principles. It's not my principles. It's not something I designed. It's not something that I put together. The Bible put it together. God put it together. I will never marry a man and a man. I will never marry a woman and a woman. I know my rights. I'm not judging people. I'm not throwing rocks at people. But it's biblically wrong. And these principles they're not on the negotiable table. I don't put them on the table. They're not to be negotiated at all. And it's tough sometimes. If you think it's not tough being a pastor, I'll let you do it for a week. You'll be ready to give it back. You'll be like, here you go. I ain't telling, man, I didn't know you were going through all that. It's emotional. Because you love people and you invest time in them. Sister Johnson, you put everything into people. And just step all over your heart, and it bothers you. I don't go around I don't whine about it, and I don't go typing on Facebook about it either. It ain't none of your business what goes on here. I go to Jesus and whine to Him, and that's who listens. And I know, because if I whine to Him, it's not going to get back.
Right.
It's not going to be repeated.
That's right.
Amen? Look, you want to whine to somebody, whine to Jesus, because it'll never be repeated. It's a signed, sealed, delivered. It's something that it'll never be repeated. The following of one of the family ceremonies. We've heard this. We are gathered together today in the presence of God and the company of you friends to join together this man, groom, and this woman, bride, in the holy institution of marriage. We should know that the groom and the bride do know, I am assured that the marriage is not to be entered into lightly or unadvisedly, but reverently, not only with the joy and hope of Christians, but also in awe of God, whose will they shall seek to follow. I'm not bragging, but Brother Darcy, my record of marrying people is pretty good. I can think maybe of one that is not me. Several that I've married. Why? Because I carefully examined. Now, it's not my fault that it didn't work out. I mean, I had nothing to do with that, but the fact is, I carefully examined the couples before I bring them together in the sight of the church. People don't realize it brings a reproach to the church. You know, this guy, whopper, okay. And then 6 months down the road, a year, 2, 3, I'm going to divorce. I thought you said you loved her. You said it in front of all the church. You loved her. You would die for her. Vice versa. They got to understand what marriage is all about. Ain't you ever heard the word cold feet? It does happen. You ever heard of the word, or the individual that left the bride at the altar? Because there was wait a minute, I'm about to spend the rest of my life. Listen, if you're going to marry somebody, dating stuff's got to go. It's over with. There's no more dating. There's no more looking at another girl or another guy. Because when you commit to that individual, it's done. You better make sure that you want to spend the rest of your life with that individual. The chief word is, as we look at the biblical perspective of marriage, is not love, but commitment. The commitment of life. In a Christian's marriage, and we accept no less, there must first exist a total alliance to Jesus Christ. And I'm telling you that. They both got to love God and of the same faith and His will. Only after this commitment with God is sealed can I, as Christian ministers, be satisfied that these two people will effectively commit themselves to one another. Sister Mackowiak, when you were dating in your dating days, what did your pastor teach you? Okay, I caught her by surprise. She said when you go out with somebody, she's telling me this all the time, there'll be a Bible between both of you. Kind of hard to neck with someone, so to speak, with a Bible. Oh, but that's embarrassing. God's watching us. Whether it's a Bible or not, God's watching you anyway. I'll never forget. I'll never forget that. No, look, I'm talking. Listen, when I was dating, my pastor's dead and gone. I love him. I love Brother Moran. Love him. Taught me some great values. And this girl I was dating, her, she had a car. She come and picked me up, April. She came and picked me up at the door. He found out. We went to the Belvedere. Because see, at the Belvedere, that's where all the young couples went at that time to kiss, kiss. Hug, hug, kiss, kiss. Now it's XXOOs. Hug, hug, kiss, kiss. He found out. For 4 months, that's all he preached about. I was his favorite topic. But see, I didn't get offended, didn't get my feelings hurt, didn't leave. Yeah, I was hurt. I did grumble and complain, but my parents wasn't hearing it. You should know better. He's right. At the time, I didn't have a whole, but you know, nothing. But he was trying to teach me something. He was trying to be a guidance to me that, hey, you're doing it the wrong way, pal. It ain't the girl taking you out. You need to go to her door. You need to take her out. Open the door for da-da-da-da-da-da. They're old-fashioned. Man, you don't hear it anymore, man. He hated it when men would call their ladies, their wives, hey, old lady. Sister Hardy, it was like, you know, you might as well slap him straight up in the face. He'd get so upset. What do you mean, old lady? That's your wife. She's got a name. Oh, he would be very boisterous about what he felt. He took biblical principles to heart. He took these things that he learned, Brother Darcy, as learning as a young man, he took it to heart. He said, I learned this before I even became a Christian. Because his mom and daddy were Methodists. And man, I'm telling you, there ain't nobody strict like the Methodists. They're strict people back in those days. Those women, man, they're strict, real strict. They didn't believe in movies and what have you. Oh, no, lads, you're going to hell. His dad, he told me, my pastor told me, he said, his dad, he went to a movie show. They called it a movie show. And when his dad found out, he took a belt up and beat him half to death over going to a movie. You think it's strict? You think it's hard now? Kids got it easy today. They don't need to go to movies. It's piped into their living room. All the movies you want, just got to wait for a little bit, you know? I ventured off of that. But commitment, learning the principles of how to treat that woman, and man and woman, how to treat that man. It used to be, I'm going to go there, It used to be a man, you know, he never would get a kiss on the first date. There's no way. He could barely get a contact or a handshake or anything. Nowadays, oh man, that's the thing to do. Men used to respect women, and women used to respect men. Women are more crazier than men sometimes than nowadays.
Yes, amen.
Amen. I mean, it is. Am I telling the truth, church? Come on.
Amen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Men and women. I'm not picking on just women, but men and women today use body languages to attract the opposite sex.
Amen.
Tell us. Sometimes they attract the wrong attention.
Yes, brother.
And everybody thinks, oh, she's available. No. No one's available is in her mind, not your mind.
Amen.
And get the wrong misconception. That's where we gotta have in our thinking cap, Sister Harden, be godly. Think of God. Don't think of things like this, and keep God in your mind. And this won't bother you.
Amen.
Trust me, and I mean this in no ill way at all. Godly women are beautiful women because there's godliness in them. And you can see it in them. And they're highly respected. And people know it and people figure it out.
Amen.
Trust me. Am I right, Brother Johnson?
Amen.
I hear him saying amen. Boy, he's scoring points with Sister Johnson. I do. Amen.
All those points is gonna show.
He's scoring. I know it. He knows
Okay,
Valentine's
scoring.
Day's coming around.
Going in the wrong direction.
They're negative.
Amen, brother.
The chief word as we look at the biblical perspective of marriage is not love. It's committed. We've got to be committed. It is necessary to understand that God designed this. God designed it, not man, marriage. In the quiet of the Garden of Eden, before evil had touched the world, God saw that it was not good for a man to be alone. He made a partner suitable for him.
Amen.
You know, people can argue all they want. They can argue and say, about gay marriage, just listen, that was not designed. That's not God's design.
No, he didn't give him over to it.
It's not in the Bible. It's nowhere in the Bible. Matter of fact, the city was destroyed by the name of Solomon and Gomorrah because of this action. People say, oh, that's offensive. That's offensive. No, it's biblical. It's, it's trying to get you to heaven. I won't debate and I won't negotiate with people that try to get a twisted thought about that, because the Bible tells them, he says, I will let them believe a lie. He said, I will send a strong delusion upon them, Sister Mackowiak, and let them believe a lie. There is, I feel in my heart, there is a place that you get with God. If you keep rejecting Him, He'll let you be. He'll let you go.
Oh, yeah.
He will. But you've got to make that decision. Because God will not push Himself upon any individual. We must emphasize the importance of what will take place in the unity of these two persons. Marriage is the foundation of home life and social order, and must remain so until the end of time. It was sanctioned and honored by the Lord Jesus Christ. So it happens that a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave unto his wife, and two shall become one flesh.
Amen.
I can't stress this enough, and the writer here is stressing it. Keep stressing it. Because if that's the case, there will be no man hurting a woman. Because he wouldn't hurt himself, would he?
Right.
Nor would a woman hurt a man. Because if they become one flesh,
Amen.
Mrs. Johnson, that means they're not going to hurt each other. Because the fact is they don't want, when you become one, you won't do it. It concerns me when people blame their parents for their misunderstanding of marriage. It's not all parents' fault. You got a mind too to think with. Especially when they go through their years, and young teenagers that grow up, they make their own decisions. Because no matter what mom and dad said, they're going to do what they want to do anyway. My mom told me that. She said, she tried to talk me out of a marriage, and she said, but I'm not going to convince you because you already got your mind made up. It happens. It happens. When you get impatient with God, you're going to pay the price. And I did. I paid the price. I thought to myself, I said, dear God, I never dreamed I'd be a pastor, Sister Jerry. I never dreamed that. But God said, well, now you can tell other people, be patient. Be patient. Wait on me. Don't rush into getting married. After this seriousness and special introduction, the man and woman leads the couple in the vows, covenant of marriage. There are many ways this can be done, but there is an example from Pastor Scott, a manual for worship in 1934, the Southern Baptist. I'm telling you, man, Baptists are hard on that. Catholics are hard when it comes to marriage. It's just, they're of remarrying someone. They're just so harsh on them. But they're protecting their church. They're protecting the very thing that God believed in, that marriage, what it meant. understanding the covenant according to the Webster New Encyclopedia Dictionary of the English language, is an agreement between two parties, a sealed contract or a bargain. The covenant of marriage defines above is the one of the many styles available. They are all meant to become lifelong agreements, vows, taken in front of God with His blessings. The two families being joined in this marriage, and any other witnesses presents. This scared covenant has become just words spoken without much thought and a little or no prayer. We need to remind ourselves that. I believe two people that are dating, they should learn to pray together while they're dating. They should go to Bible school together. Because they'll understand. It's important. This is not always available, but you ought to thank God that you love God, and that you're a part of His life, that you're a part of Him. Because you can teach this to your children. Couples that pray together stay out of trouble. I'll never forget when Brother Darcy was dating Sister Doris. I told him, I said, son, you're going to make a difference now, ain't you? Oh, yes, sir, Pastor. We're being good, Pastor. Keep saying it. We're being good, Pastor. I'm picking on anybody. He says, oh, Pastor, he said, I love her. I know you do. You love her music. You love this. I know that, Brother Darcy. But you behave yourself. Yes, sir, Pastor. Yes, sir. We pray together. We talk together. We're still together. How long has it been, Brother Darcy? 5 years. Wow. You're breaking some records, man.
Almost. Almost. I'm getting there.
There you go. I don't mind saying this. He's my friend. But the same things was said to me. Me and my wife were dating. I give him a year. Because you know why? You know why people would make statements like this? Because of my mistakes, my past. Somebody wants to always hold it. I give them a year. It'll never last.
Yeah, we wouldn't give him 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. 6 months, wow. Well, I was given a year. So. How long has it been, Sister Mary? 20? Wow. I hope they wasn't holding their breath. They're dead by now. When you do it right, when you meet the individual, and listen, I believe in soulmates. Call me stupid. I do. I believe that there's two individuals that are meant for each other.
Amen.
God put them together. I really do believe that. And nothing will separate those of soulmates together. I do believe that people, and young couples especially, with the lack of, because listen, if this wasn't true, this writer would not be writing about this. Lack of understanding in marriage will cause you to make a mistake. Oh, that's taboo, Pastor. Oh, I can't believe you said that. No, it's true. Lack of leadership, lack of people showing you and guiding you will cause you to make mistakes. Because when you're young, you don't think of the consequences. Because if we did, we'd make less mistakes.
Amen.
Me and Brother Darcy, we were talking about the other day in the office. We were talking, I told him, I said, Brother Darcy, man, I can remember the things I did when I was young. I was like, wow, that's when I'm in prison, man. The things he said, yeah, me too. You want me going? Well, no. I just, don't tell me something that will incriminate you later. Brother Darcy goes, I mean, God, I have to testify. I don't want to testify against you.
That's why I didn't tell you, brother.
That's why he said I didn't say that. If I don't know anything, then I can't say anything, right? Not that Brother Darcy would be in trouble. But God commanded that marriage continue until the death of one of the people involved. Romans 7, 1 and 3. You read it for yourself. You got to need to have a look. Don't take my word for it. And God commanded that the institution of marriage continue until His return. Mark 12 and 25. In understanding and the commitment of marriage, Covenant gives the relationship strength and the ability to withstand the problems that life brings. Listen, the most successful marriages, I'm being honest with you, over 90% of couples that wait until they get married have successful marriage life. That's a high percentage. That wait, that preserves themselves, their marriage is usually successful with right leadership and guidance. I didn't make those statistics up. It's true. Because they're continually having support, moral supports, church support, different ones supporting them as they go. Understanding the concept, why are we, what is it all about when we unite together? A young girl that my wife and I know, I won't mention her name, but her heart was broken. She was set to get married, but this is a good time to understand it. It just didn't work out. They were engaged. But that's the time to figure it out. Don't wait till they get married and then try to figure it out. She'll meet another. She'll move on. Sure, it hurts. How many's ever had their heart broken? I'm sure you have. Oh, woman. All of a sudden, that knight in shining armor is not the knight in shining armor you thought it was. Right? My son's experiencing it, not the knight in shining armor, but I want to clarify that. He's experiencing
Thanks for clarifying.
and liking girls. And I'm glad that he likes girls. Beautiful thing. I got to shut up.
It beats the alternative.
Yes, it okay, reverse. Well, I'm just saying, it's my fault. I'm adding on to it. But I'm glad. I'm glad. But why? Because, and it's Drew's the same way, different ones. It's support from the church. They're surrounded by good moral support. And so they're going to lean to that because it's the right way. Serious business. After studying the sample marriage ceremony, it is difficult to see how Christians could make these vows and then choose divorce. Does their words mean nothing? Did they make their commitment to a man only? Or was God involved? And the majority of the time, God wasn't involved. The marriage covenant commitment is both vertical and horizontal. It is between two humans who are on the same level, horizontal, and it is also directed upward by both of them of God, vertical. What are some of the things that will help a couple considering marriage, understanding their principles? It's very, very important. Number one, prayer and Bible reading must be a vital part of the preparation for the marriage. When they feel God leading them towards one another, they need to pray diligently to be sure that this feeling is from God, not from the flesh, not from the infatuation. Feelings will always lead you in the wrong direction. You can't rely on your feelings. You've got to rely upon God, what direction God's showing you. They should ask God to help them understand the commitment they're about to make. They should understand that it is not trial and error, but there is no multiple choices involved. They have one opportunity, and if they fail, their whole life will be affected. They should pray together specifically for God's direction in their lives, even if it means not getting married. They should fast. They should put down their selfish desires and fears and exalt God's original design for marriage. They should take their time in more focused prayer and not rush their decision. You got a whole life. My wife will tell you. How old was it when you got married, sweetheart? To me. 26? I'm an old baby. You're in the prime time of your life, 26. I can't even remember when I was 24 or 25. That's half my age. It's the prime time of your life. You got everything before you. Reader's Digest, Norman Vincent Peale said, I have married hundreds of couples and counseled hundreds of others, and have never yet known a marriage to fall where the couple had acquired the habit of praying aloud together. Amen? This is one man saying this. Understanding communication. What is prayer? By the simplest definition, prayer is communication with God. It is the way we talk to Him. It is how we tell Him our troubles. It is the means by which we share our joys and sorrows with our Creator. It is the way we ask Him for help. And this is the means by which the church draws near to their bridegroom. Communication is much more than talking. It is the least 50% listening, and sometimes more. You men, you need to learn to listen to your wives.
Amen. Amen.
Oh no.
Listening obviously attracts your wife. And it's a strong point. I got to move on, man. That went over like a lead balloon. Only for the women it did not. We get much more from our prayer life when we take time to listen to God's voice. Through His Word, a sermon based on His Word, our lesson taught from His Word. This is not always easy to do, since we usually have a long list of things we need to tell Him. But every effort to communicate is worthwhile. God will tell you if that spouse is right for you, if you listen to Him.
Amen.
Why is it difficult to understand how important communication in marriage? If marriage is God's picture for our finite minds of His relationship with the church, then marriage should be full of communication. The marriage cause of marriage failure is not abuse. It is not even adultery. Less than a third of divorces are caused by high conflict marriages. Is based on the vast majority of marriages fail our lack of communication and commitment. Those that I have consulted with that have considered divorce, the number one thing that they tell me, we don't communicate.
Yep.
He or she just finally realized it's not right. Something's not right. Why is it something not, why you wait so long? Why does it take so long to figure this out? Because it's lack of communication. The writer's telling you this. Listen, how many times have I been talking about this since we've been doing these lessons? How important it is for spouses to communicate. If communication will save more marriages, we must get busy in trying to understand each other by talking and listening. Now I'm going to pick on myself. My wife's talking to me just in general things. I can't respond to her if I'm watching Netflix.
Right. Amen.
See, I'm picking on myself. I ain't seen nothing about her.
I'm agreeing with you, brother.
All right. Communication. Communication is important. It's very important.
Sometimes they won't hear what they want to hear, bro.
If you find yourself sleeping all the time, then back off from work.
Amen. Amen. I try to tell them that.
Last thing that wife wants to hear is your day at work.
Oh, my God.
She wants to hear, I love you, honey. Not, hey, supper cooked, woman, old lady.
Oh, yeah, because that's function.
I can hear my pastor now turning over his grave just for me saying it. It's not what a woman wants to hear. I'm going to tell you something. When my son was young, when he was a baby, Sister Johnson, and there was a couple of times, I wasn't laid off, but there was a couple of times my wife was working at the time, and I was going through jobs, and I stayed home to take care of him. I said, look, no, I'll work 1,000 jobs. I'm not staying home. I don't know how men can do that. I mean, I can't change diapers. It just ain't in my makeup. I mean, I get a whiff of it, I'm gone. It's over with. Mama can do it. I was like, Mama, don't you smell that? Oh, it ain't nothing, honey. And cook supper at the same time. I've seen her do it 1,000 times.
You wonder what you been
She'll change Jonathan while he's on the table. I'll never forget it. And me cooking supper. And Papa, hey woman, you got that chicken cooked? Yeah, I'm changing the baby though. Hush. How many times she's told Papa that? I was like, Mama, you don't smell that? She, you know, and Penny be doing something or whatever, and she would just, Mama would just laugh at me. She's like, oh, he's silly. I'll never leave him alone with Jonathan. He'll still have a poopy diaper time to get home. She was right. The conclusion of what I'm saying, and then we're going to go into questions. I think they're done. It's about 9 o'clock. There is only one relationship more important than marriage. Our relationship with Jesus. I always say it, and I still preach it. It's woman. It's man, Jesus, and woman. That's what it's got to be. It's the equation. It has to come together. That's what draws it together. Relationship with Jesus. Many people strive so hard on their work relationship and spend little time on their marriage relationship. This is true especially of those in the ministry. When their marriage, cracks at the seams, they are often too busy to repair it. This grieves the heart of God. Understanding this should come before marriage, and probably utilizing this should happen until death do you part. The 4 C's of marriage will not go on long way towards building your family the way God intended. Let's join the companion to see companionship, commitment, and covenant, and communication. That's the 4 C's of marriage. Companionship, commitment, covenant, and communication. In actions in marriages everywhere. This should be stressed. I'm thankful for these lessons because they're teaching us something to tools. We've got tools. I'm grateful for, we've got young couples here. There are couples here that are considering getting married. I want them to understand what they're doing, what they're getting into. Understand you're going to spend the rest of your life with this individual. That takes a commitment. When you say I do, you've got to understand that. Brother Darcy, can you tell them?
I already did.
Who's our, good job. She's all on top of it. Wow, I forget they got phones that can do that. All right, good job. Tell them we're wrapping it up there, sister.
What she's saying is she was texting in church. That's what she was saying.
Now, brother, you know snitches get stitches. Now stop that.
I didn't snitch on her. She snitched on herself.
Man.
I could have been naive.
For real. Just pointed out the album.
On this version. All right. Number 1. Just talked about it. What are the 4 concepts involved in building a godly family? Give a short the definition of each. What are the 4 C's?
Companionship.
All right.
Commitment. Covenant. Communication.
All right. Number 2. When is the need for companionship first felt in a person's life?
When we're still involved in the family unit of our parents.
Good job. Ooh, Johnson all on that, boy. Sister Jones, I got the J's, you understand that. All right, Johnson, James. Good job. Number 3, according to the article of the Covenant of Marriage, what 4 different types of unity are involved in companionship? What 4 unities?
Purpose.
Okay.
Thoughts.
All right.
Efforts.
Amen.
Bodies. Marriage only.
Good job. Good job. Number 4, the Bible speaks of both man and woman as a companion in marriage. Right on the scriptures with reference for each. Anybody got any scriptures in comparison to this?
Malachi 2:14.
Good job.
And
That talks about the woman.
2:7.
What's that talk about? The husband. Number 5. If marriage is not just the physical union of a man and a woman, what is it?
Commitment.
Commitment? Good job, Sister Jerry. What else?
The church is bride.
Relationship? Patterning oneself as Christ did with the church. Good job, Sister Jerry. Number 6. What is the difference between commitment and a covenant?
Commitment is between wife and husband, and a covenant is between both of them and God.
Good job. Good job. When you make that covenant with God, that's a big step, right? You're telling them that, you know, this individual I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. List 4 reasons why the marriage covenant must be kept sacred. I'll help you. That's kind of tough one. Number 1, God is the one who designs the pattern for marriage. That's why we should sacred. That's why we should understand that it is sacred, because God designed it. Number 2, God commanded that marriage continue until death do you part. Number 2, covenant. Number 3, God commanded that the institution of marriage continue until He is returned. So it's 3 of them. And number 4, when you make that covenant, you're not making it to your spouse, but you're making that covenant to God. So you're promising to God that I will take this spouse for the rest of my life till death do we part. Number 8, how is it the marriage covenant both vertical and horizontal? Just talked about it a few minutes ago, vertical and horizontal.
Horizontal between the bride and groom, and vertical between them and God.
Right.
Good job, good job, good job.
Oh,
Wow.
good job.
So Jones, you're sharp. I'm telling you, these lessons are valuable. And I'm glad that you're able to take them home. Please, don't just take your lessons and sit them on the shelf somewhere. Read them. Go back over them. And understand that if you ever should decide to marry, that you've got these principles and you understand that. I never hold no one accountable that has a lack of understanding. How can I? That would not be right. People today need to understand why they're doing wrong. People today need to understand why marriages do not last. They must understand why. They must understand that the fact is that if they have an understanding, then they'll be held accountable. But if they don't understand, how can they be held accountable of their actions? If they don't know, no one can be held accountable. That's why we have these lessons. That's why we understand. We institute into the hearts of those that they understand. Time for everyone to come back in. They're wrapping it up there, Sister Jones. Be a prayer for these brother and sister Jones and brother Jonathan Mackowiak as they're teaching. They're doing these things, preparing. My son's so excited about it. He said, Dad, he said, man, this is just great. I'm so glad you're letting us do this. I said, you need that responsibility. People need to look up to you and understand that you're just not a figure, but that you're a man of God. How'd it go, Jonathan?
It went good.
Brother Mackowiak, I'm sorry. You're good. Say again?
You said
It went good.
Went good.
Really
What y'all talk about?
Well, we were starting on, the whole thing's been about prayer. It's a 3-part series. We're on the second part and talking about how, talks about the whole Lord's Prayer and stuff like that, but God did not give that to us to say it for word. It was a guideline on how we're supposed to pray. And this week was called Hallowed Be Thy Name. And it was talking about the importance of Jesus' name and how we're supposed to pray in only His name and stuff like that.
That was very interesting. You'd be surprised. People will take these words literally, what Jonathan's talking about, and repeat them as if, repetitiously. But they're guidelines. Good job, John. Sounds good. Sounds like you guys are learning quite a bit and getting on it. If we can stand, we want to be dismissed. Please be a prayer for everyone. I'm sure there's prayers. And before we're dismissed, is there any prayers that you would want to bring to? Yes, Sister Darcy.
Jenny and his dad tomorrow at sunrise.
Did they get arrangements, Sister Darcy?
Tomorrow's the funeral.
Where at? Do you have the arrangements, Sister?
Yeah, it's on Facebook.
Okay, I didn't see it. What time?
Viewing starts at 10 and the funeral starts
If anybody can make it. Yes, Sister Bell.
Pray for me tomorrow. I have to go to my thyroid doctor to see what my results.
We'd be praying for you, Sister Bell. You're going to do fine. Right? How many believe that? Is there anybody else have any requests for us? Yes, Sister Matt.
Just pray for me. I go for the scope tomorrow. And also, a friend of mine, her daughter, her stepdaughter, they're taking her off life support tomorrow. So just please pray for everyone.
Let's do. Anyone else have any requests? Yes, Sister. Sister Jones. Oh!
I've got unspoken
I'm sorry.
requests. I need God to intervene in, so.
All right. Sounds good. We'll pray for that. Anyone else this evening? We pray for Sunday. What time we start Sunday? 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. We pray for that. Is not anyone else? Anyone else have any requests? Sister Jerry.
I have 2 customers that are both going through chemo right now. And I have a coworker that buried her mama today, so keep all of them in prayers.
Amen.
Let's do. We all know about that horrible word, cancer. Let's pray for Sister Jerry's co-workers, those that she has. I know she's been a light to them. Yes, Sister.
Also, I've had lots of friends ask me for prayer requests, and it seems like the flu's really been going around, the A and B flu, with a lot of people, and especially a lot of church people are getting it. So just remember them in your prayers.
It has been told too here in Kentucky, a lot of kids are dying over this.
It's a
This flu. So it is. Yep. It's bad. Always said, you don't like the weather in Kentucky, stick around, don't you? It is so unpredictable. But please do remember Jimmy. And I know he's going to miss his mom. And do remember them tomorrow. Anyone that's ever suffered a loss should understand that it's something. All right, let's all bow our heads. Sister Jerry, will you dismiss us this evening?
Lord, we thank you for another day that you've given us. We thank you for these classes that we have, for the younger ones and for the older ones, Lord. We thank you for the teachers, Lord. And Lord, we know that you heard each and every request that was given here. I know that you know each and every person involved. And God, we just pray that thy will be done. Lord. Help those people that are so deathly sick. God, be with them that are saying goodbye to their loved ones, because it is very, very hard. Just be with them, Lord. Comfort them. Let them know, Lord, that you're going to be their comfort. You're going to walk with them. You're going to hold their hands. you're going to be there for them. And Lord, I pray you see each and every one of us home safely, Lord, until we meet again. In Jesus' name, amen.
God bless you, church.